Trump literally, I think, found a way to pay off the national debt. Like this idea he came out with, freaking brilliant. So simple, but brilliant. I'm going to show you a clip here from what he said that he plans to do. But like, this is literally a $35 trillion plan. And it's feasible. The math checks out on it.
Selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before, anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks, Howard? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Sure.
President,
Wait a minute.
Requirements for that
Hang on a
gold
sec.
card? Do you have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Go
the
ahead.
EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe and fraud. And it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
Mm-hmm.
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs, very high level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card, and for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. $5 trillion.
Wow.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. So we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic. We have it all worked out from the legal standpoint. It's totally legal to do. Hasn't been done before. It's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away.
No.
And I think it's something very exciting. I think it's potentially just something that we're all very excited.
So this makes sense on every possible front. I mean, you might say to yourself, well, come on. I mean, how many people are there outside the United States that aren't citizens that could pay $5 million? Well, I looked this up. There's actually over 30 million people who are multimillionaires that are not U.S. citizens, right? So like he says there, 1 million people, if they were to buy this, that'd be $5 trillion. 10 people buy this, 50 trillion. So you need 7 million people to buy this in order to pay off the entire debt of the United States, right? So think about it. Like, we already had 10 million people come in here for free across the border unaccounted for. So imagine getting 10 million high net worth people here who are going to invest in the country, create jobs, increase the GDP. Like, this is insane. I mean, it ends up creating a whole another question, potential series of problems, because I'm very interested to see what happens if we actually do try to pay down the US debt, because counterintuitively, if you haven't heard before, to pay off debt is actually the destruction of money. So some weird things can happen if we start paying down the US debt or any debt, because when debt's created, that's money that did not otherwise exist. So it expands the economy. So when you pay off debt, that removes money from the economy. So we don't really know what that looks like if you suddenly just take $35 trillion out of the economy. Think about every one of those loans went to something, right? And when you go to the bank, you deposit your money. That's a liability for the bank. First thing the bank does when it receives your money is it rushes out the door, and as fast as they can, they lend your money to somebody else, usually the government, because then it becomes an asset on their balance sheet, right? So that's the weird thing to wrap your head around about banks. But this is an example of like using America like as a commodity instead of like a giant charity. Like, use our resources. What is one of our greatest resources? That people want to be here. They want a green card. They want citizenship. So he's not even talking about citizenship here. He's talking about the equivalent of a green card to fast track your way to getting a green card. So if they were to factor in citizenship, like he said they need Congress for that, they can make it 10 million. So then like, this could make us insanely freaking rich. Such a good idea. I'm like blown away by this. I wonder who thought of this. I mean, when he says something that he hasn't mentioned before, it makes me think that somebody kind of whispered it in his ear, and he's like, oh yeah, it's a good idea, let's run with that, because he's had just way too many good ideas lately for it to be all coming from him. I'd be so impressed if it was all from him. If you enjoyed the short clip, click right here to watch the full episode, and remember to subscribe to the channel. God bless.